The sun was slipping behind the houses on Maple Avenue, painting the quiet street in fading gold. Everything looked peaceful from a distance. The neat lawns, the white fences, the calm hush of a suburban evening. But right there on a cracked sidewalk beneath a peeling porch roof, the silence shattered with a soft, trembling sob. A tiny sound, easy to miss, easy to ignore. But not this time. A little boy stood there, clutching a worn teddy bear, his cheeks streaked with tears, his voice barely strong enough to hold the words he forced out. "He hurt my grandma." The sentence was so small, but the pain inside it could have broken the strongest heart. 6-year-old Ethan didn't belong in a moment like this. His hoodie was dusty from where he'd fallen running down the steps. Behind him, his grandmother Clara sat slumped on the porch, her blue dress torn, a bruise spreading across her cheek like a shadow. She held her arm as if every movement hurt, trying to hide her pain from him. But some things can't be hidden. And standing in the doorway was the man responsible, Ray. Tall, red-faced, drunk enough that the bottle in his hand swayed with him. He wasn't family. He wasn't a friend. Just someone who promised to help out after Clara's husband died, then took advantage of her loneliness, bringing nothing but anger and control into the home. Ethan had run from the house barefoot, gripping the teddy bear his grandmother once stitched for him when life was kinder. He didn't have a plan. He didn't know who to trust. He only knew anyone had to save her. As his tiny feet hit the concrete path, the street suddenly trembled. A deep rumble rolled through the air like distant thunder. Then the engines appeared. 6 motorcycles turned the corner, chrome glinting under the setting sun, their roar filling the quiet neighborhood. They slowed, then stopped right in front of Clara's porch. Leading them was a man impossible to overlook. Tall, broad, beard streaked with gray, tattoos etched along his arms like stories carved in skin. The back of his leather vest read Hell's Angels, and beneath it, a patch bearing the letters RL, CHLLS. His name was Reed, the kind of man whose presence could silence a crowd before he even spoke. When Reed saw the crying boy by the steps, he shut off his engine and knelt in front of him. "Hey, kiddo," he murmured, his gravelly voice surprisingly gentle. "Tell me what happened." Ethan didn't speak. He just pointed toward the porch, toward Clara, toward the man hovering above her with the bottle still in hand. Reed's jaw locked. Something cold sparked in his eyes. He'd been here before, not on this porch, but in this pain. Childhood memories he'd buried long ago rose, uninvited, reminding him of the helplessness he once felt. Not this boy. Not this time. Reed rose slowly, each step deliberate, as 5 more leather-clad bikers lined up behind him like a silent wall. The neighborhood sensed something shifting. Curtains twitched. Doors creaked open. Everyone watched. Ray straightened, trying to look braver than he felt. "This ain't your business," he slurred, but his voice shook. Reed kept walking, calm, steady, unbothered. When he reached the bottom step, sunlight hit the chrome on his vest like a warning. "The second I heard that kid," Reed said quietly, "it became my business." Ray froze. The look in Reed's eyes didn't promise violence, just truth. And the truth was worse than anything he could fight. Clara stared at her lap, ashamed of needing help. Ethan clutched his teddy bear, watching the man who hurt his grandma shrink for the first time. Reed didn't raise his fists. He didn't shout. He didn't need to. Everything about him, his past, his scars, his brothers standing behind him, was enough to make Ray's excuses die in his throat. Reed leaned in, voice low but sharp. "She doesn't need you. Pack your things. You're done." Ray stepped back. Then again. No one stopped him as he stumbled inside, grabbed his keys, and fled in his truck, engine sputtering as he disappeared down the street. And just like that, the street felt lighter. Reed turned to Clara, kneeling beside her. She tried to manage a grateful smile, even through the pain. "You didn't have to step in," she whispered. "Ma'am," Reed murmured, "nobody deserves to live scared. Not you, and definitely not that little boy." He nodded toward Ethan, and for a moment Reed's voice nearly broke. His bikers stepped forward, one offering water, another pulling out a first aid kit, moving with a tenderness that surprised every neighbor watching from behind their windows. People were called dangerous, showed more compassion in 5 minutes than Ray had shown in years. They made sure Clara was safe, called an ambulance, stayed by her side until help arrived. When paramedics lifted her into the vehicle, Ethan rushed to Reed and wrapped his arms around him. The teddy bear squished between them. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice tiny but full of trust. Reed's throat tightened as he rested a hand on the boy's back. When the ambulance drove away, the bikers mounted their motorcycles. Reed paused before starting his engine, glancing back at the house, at the small boy waving from the porch, at the old woman safe at last. He didn't speak the thought that formed inside him, but it echoed loud enough anyway. Sometimes the people the world fears the most are the ones who protect it best. Reed revved his engine, and the roar rolled down Maple Avenue, not as a threat, but as a promise that kindness shows up, even on two wheels. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner, where real strength begins with simple compassion. And before you go, tell us, what would you do if you heard a child cry those words? Sometimes one person's courage is all it takes to change everything.